Good afternoon. It is Monday, August 12th at 2 o'clock, and I'm calling the Regular Resources and Infrastructure Committee meeting to order. I have 4 committee members present in person. Mr. Williams is on Zoom and is requesting that he be allowed to attend per Government Code Section 54953F2. Mr. Williams?
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Chair. I woke up this morning ill, and in order to not sort of spread my illness to everybody else, I requested that I not attend in person. Apparently, according to the government code that the chair cited, I can attend remotely. However, it requires the members that are there to make a motion and approve that I be allowed to attend remotely. And so I'm asking that that motion be made and approved.
Do you have anyone else present in the room with you aged 18 or over?
No, I do not.
Okay, and you're going to need to stay unmuted and keep your camera on. Okay,
There we are.
so Mr. Williams is asking that he be allowed to attend the meeting via Zoom because he is ill and concerned that he might not, that he doesn't want to affect anybody. So I need to take a roll call vote. So someone want to make a motion to allow him to attend?
Yeah, I make a motion that allows him to attend today.
Okay, so, okay, so Jim Webb made the motion and Stephen Seaver seconded. So I'm going to take a roll call vote on this. Jim?
Aye.
Stephen?
Aye.
Dennis?
Aye.
And Mark?
Aye.
Okay, so we have a full quorum, 4 people in person and 1 on Zoom. Thank you. Okay, chair report. Just a couple of quick things to say. Do all of you get the general manager's letters?
Yes.
So you're all aware of what's going on in the district?
Yep.
Okay, so the board recently approved a resolution to allow the admin office to cancel its lease where it is and move over to 2150 Main Street. And that takes effect, what, the end of October?
We'll be vacating our current offices end of October and beginning the new lease November 1st.
Okay, so there'll be a week period at the end of the month where the offices will be closed while they're moving. The other thing is, I think you know that 3 of us on the board applied for the 3 vacant seats for the upcoming election. No one challenged the 3 incumbents, so we will not be on the ballot. We will be appointed by the Board of Supervisors to run again, to be on the board again for another 4 years. So I just thought I'd let you know that. So you get to put up with me for another 4 years. Okay, ad hoc subcommittee.
Yeah, I think so. You scared them off.
4 more years of cookies, huh? I'll keep baking them after that. Okay, do we have anybody in the public on here? We do. Cody is still on here as an attendee.
That just means he didn't accept my invite.
So Cody, if you can hear me, you need to accept Ms. Dodson's invite to move over as a panelist. Okay, and Ms. Dickinson has her hand up.
Chair, Dean, it says 1F Utilities Department Manager Report, but I don't see a report there for Utilities Manager in the staff packet.
He's been doing them verbally.
Okay. All right. Well,
So-
I'll have a question then when that comes up.
Okay, thank you. Okay, ad hoc subcommittee reports. Mark, do you want to fill us in on whether you've been able to make any contact with?
I have not. The last contact I had was Matthew, was about 2 months ago. He said he was, he had to, his energies had to be redirected to a big project they had going in another country. But I don't know if that meant he was going there or what. And I lost contact with him, and I've called there several times and nobody's returned a phone call.
Okay,
So that messages, I don't know what's going on with Source.
okay, can I ask, the staff and the committee members if they feel like we should attempt to continue to pursue this? This is the solar hydro panels.
Um,
And Mr. Green's on here just a second.
sure.
Mr. Green?
I mean, unless there's some huge development in technology, I don't think the yield that I saw that we gleaned from the information that we were provided is kind of pencils out, model to scale there for us.
Yes, it didn't really scale out very well. Not very efficiently. That was my opinion too. I'd be good to have, if you had somewhere like about, a lot of money to spend for some, little bit of water, so.
Yeah, I would agree with all those comments. Since I had contact with them many, like last year, I wouldn't mind contacting them again just to say, hey, if you're not interested, we'll, or come see us when you're ready to
Yeah,
do
they're
that.
into a lot of,
And-
I mean, I
and-
think most of their sales in the United States come off the internet.
Right, and the other-
Just 1 or 2 units and, things like that.
if they could bring some grant money with them, then that might make it
Well,
worthwhile.
this Matt guy said they were really tied in with all the grants, they were very knowledgeable staff of what was out there and what could be applied to your particular, application and, location. And, he sounded like really hopeful, but he just disappeared. I don't know if he left or what, but.
Okay, Mr. Green, I have a question. When we were talking before about putting possibly a solar farm out there on the property by the San Simeon Wells, wasn't there on whether or not the Coastal Commission was considering that entire property ESHA? And whether or not we could even put solar panels out there?
I think if you ask the commission, I would definitely consider that ESHA, or at least disturb ESHA. The early models that we saw, this was a demand offset that we investigated back when John Alchin was here. So this is probably about 6+ years ago. It took up a huge footprint there. Basically, if you know our layout of San Simeon Well 1, 2, and 3, the little triangle that they make, it would take up that entire perimeter there. Especially after seeing the last couple storm events we've had over the last 2 years, that area would have been flooded, so they'd have to be elevated. So the whole scope of the project, I think, is changed just with solar panel as far as demand offset. So it's definitely something we can look at. I know there's some upgrades to panels in recent years, so the footprint of that might considerably shrink. So it'd be something that we should look at again in the future. I'll never say no to, solar power. But an ulterior location would probably be beneficial for permit.
Okay, so would you like the ad hoc committee to work with you to see if there are any alternative locations for something like this?
Yeah, I think some metrics for evaluation, I think, would be to see what we get out of the panel. Because again, I know that has been updated and upgraded, and then what kind of footprint we need to offset our demand.
Okay, so we can bring this back on a future agenda item to have a proper discussion.
Right, because a lot of evaluations and methodology early were banking on the power used by the wastewater plant. Well, we know with this SST project we're going through, we're doing like 11, 12, 13 of those ECMs. That'll considerably reduce our consumption. So we might have to reevaluate that whole model as far as demand offset.
Okay. Okay, so we'll bring this back on a future agenda to look at a little bit more. That's okay.
Atmospheric water generation.
Okay. And I don't think we have any other ad hoc committees going. We're gonna do Mr. Williams' report as agenda item 4B. So, committee member communications. Does anybody have anything they wish to discuss? Mr. Webb?
I do. I'll tell a really quick story. 6 years ago, I was approached by the director of the Norris Terrestrial Reserve south of Cambria, participate in a group that was assessing the marine protected areas off of California's coast and the suitability of entering those into an IUCN organization's green list. And he told me, he says, you know, we'd be able to drive up together and one of us can't go to a meeting, the other one can go and so on and so forth. They sounded pretty good and I volunteered. And then a month later, he died. And which was a sorry event for sure. And so I carried on for that. That was, believe it or not, that was 6 years ago. And we have been participating in a state facilitated process for the last 6 years of trying to prepare both California's MPAs and the IUCN's definitions of protected areas and see how these can work together. And we came up with I think, a viable solution. And after much work on it, it was unanimously voted to approve it by the California team. It now goes to the IUCN, which is an environmental organization over in Switzerland, and made up of scientists who have spent a long time thinking about defining and articulating what it takes to preserve an area for an ecosystem, for all the things that an ecosystem might be good for, all the services and all the animals and plants that rely on it. And we unanimously voted to take that recommendation to the IUCN. It will be voted on by them at their next meeting in September. And I assume it'll be passed because we've had an IUCN participant at every meeting for the last 6 years. And so if we were getting it wrong, I think they would have told us a long time ago. And I think we're getting it right. And so they will then vote. And if we are accepted, then the 124 marine protected areas off of California's coast will be part of the IUCN green list. The advantages of that are, I hope, multiple, and include everything from us learning from people throughout the world, how they're trying to preserve different aspects of the ecosystems that they live in. And also an opportunity for people throughout the world to learn about what California did. And based on what I've seen and read in the literature, the MPA network that we have here in California is pretty much state of the art as far as the world is concerned. And so I think a lot of information will be transferred to people in other countries who are interested in doing this kind of work or feel the necessity to do it or are mandated to do it under law. And it was an exhaustive process. We ended up having to go take a set of criteria that the IUCN articulated and go judge MPAs one by one against that criteria, while harmonizing the fact that all the MPAs were designed based on separate goals and objectives that were established by law in 1999. So there was quite a bit of juggling back and forth, quite a bit of debate, some controversy, but ultimately, I think we all agreed that we met the criteria that the IUCN put forth. And I expect that vote to go forward in September.
You want to explain a couple of your acronyms?
Sure. IUCN is International Union for Conserved and Conserved Nature, Conservation of Nature. I don't know that it's kind of a screwy title, but MPA is a Marine Protected Area. MLPA is Marine Life Protection Act, which passed back in, I believe, 98 or 99. Did I use another acronym?
I think that was the three.
Okay.
Yeah, that was the three. Not everyone listening may know what you're talking about when you
Sure.
use the acronym. So we try to always explain an acronym when we can.
Good idea.
Thank you. Okay, so I'm
Good
gonna,
work.
yeah, really.
Very important.
Does anyone else have any communications you want to put forth on your activities you've been doing related to what we do as RNI? No? Okay, is there any public comment on the ad hoc subcommittee report or the committee member communications? Okay, seeing none. Mr. Green, can we go ahead and have you do the utility manager report?
Great, thanks, Chair Dean. Yeah, as usual, I'll give my verbal update. In respect for our guest that will be presenting today, this is going to be just a brief update, kind of the top hot projects that we have going on here. Right now, our Stewart Street tanks, we're having to submit a full KTEX package to the EPA, obviously to make sure we ensure our funding for that. But the scope of the project has gotten a little bit greater, so it's a full CDP now that we'll be taking on with the county and coastal. And we anticipate submitting our full KTEX, so that's our categorical exemption package, by the end of August for the Stewart Street tanks there. So we're still on track, even regarding all the updates and reorientations of the tanks and extra geo and surveys that we've had to do. We're still on track, and we're looking like we'll be receiving 90% drawings for that by end of September, so fourth quarter of this year. Our transmission line, wastewater and water, Cannon is working with Caltrans right now on any necessary permitting for the geotechnical report right now. So we'll be working in Caltrans encroachment area. So now we're just working on where the utilities are in that area and the geotechnical to support our installation. And we're working with an encroachment engineer there with Caltrans. So that's proceeding right along, of course, as well. Our lead and copper rule regulation reporting that we're doing was completed and is up for water board's review. We completed the physical verification of service line materials needed for reporting. The process that we used for this was a random stratified sampling, which water boards approves as an acceptable method of verification. So look for us having that prepared and submitted to Division of Drinking Water, which I will then bring forward to R&I, but probably look for that around October. It will still be early. The deadline for that's October 24th. We're looking at submitting that within the next 3 to 4 weeks at the most. So we'll try and get that on our next installment of R&I. Our AMI, our advanced meter infrastructure, is going slowly. We began installations in-house. There's been a lot of other competing priorities for water staff. So we've got about 50 or 60 of the new units installed, and we're just continuing installation in-house. A raw source sanitary survey, which is required by the Division of Drinking Water every 5 years. It's a couple years late, and that's my fault, but that's near completion. So we also look forward to bringing that forward to R&I, and we will be submitting that to Regional Water or the Division of Drinking Water here in the next month or so as well. I think Tristan can provide some requests for proposal updates regarding our skate park and fiscal and the restroom.
Very good. Thank you, Mr. Green. Yeah, so we are preparing some RFPs to submit, to post on our website and submit to the trade journals. One of them is for the design services for the skating elements within the proposed Cambria skate park. 2 more are going to be for the facility bathroom, one for site preparation, the other for the actual installation of the physical restroom building itself. And then the 4th one is for the generator that's going to be replaced down at the Rodeo Grounds pump station for the water system.
Okay,
Very good.
okay, a couple of. All right, oh, you want to go ahead, or you ready for questions?
Yeah, no, I'm ready for questions. Yeah, that kind of wraps up our kind of brief update there. Sorry. So Kurt will kind of take deeper dives in those topics next month.
Yeah, and I know you're going to do your report on Thursday as well for the board meeting. And it's in the agenda packet, all the updates. And I appreciate the fact that you put that in a contrasting color so we know what's new. I've had people ask me, how long do you think it will take for all of those AMI components to be installed?
You know, we're looking at having those all installed by end of first quarter 2025. We're talking calendar years here. Unfortunately, we haven't been able to secure. We've been seeking proposals, just any contractors that can help us with the installation. And AMI is such a hot topic right now that we just can't get any response for additional help contractually with the installation. So it's all on us.
Okay, before I go to public questions, does anybody on the committee have any questions on what Mr. Green and Mr. Reaper reported on? Anybody in the public? Okay, I'm going to go to Ms. Dickinson, just a second here.
Oh, thank you, Chair Dean. So, question for Mr. Green. I'm following up on the Form 700 to the Regional Board for the permit related to the ZLD pilot study for the permeate to be disposed of into the percolation ponds. And I know in one of the meetings you said you either had or were going to submit the 700 form. And I wrote to James Bishop,
I know.
and he said, "Hi, Tina, the need for a permit does come from the regional board." And then he said that, I believe he'd spoken to you, but he said that discharge of waste to land requires a permit from the regional board. The permit will likely be high quality, but part of our permit will require monitoring to verify that it is high quality before any discharge may occur. But I'm not hearing about any updates, whether I attend a board meeting or R&I. So just wondered if you've got an update.
Yeah, absolutely. So first of all, we do have a waste discharge permit currently with the WRF. And we're specifically looking at that constituent, which is permeate, which is basically treated water. It's going back to the pond. There's several alternatives that we've suggested if that water quality does not meet their criteria. And the meeting is tomorrow. We're having that meeting tomorrow with James Bishop, the Division of Drinking Water. So Jason Cunningham, James Webley of Trevi Water Systems, and Global Water Innovations as well. So that'll take place tomorrow afternoon, and I can provide you a more succinct update at that time.
And we are bringing the zero liquid discharge topic back at next month's
Absolutely.
meeting.
And then
So
we'll cover
the-
all the specifics. This is the final piece that we need to collaborate on with our compliance agencies and internally.
Great, thank you.
Absolutely.
Are there any more questions? Okay, seeing none. Well, thank you, Jim. I hope you feel better.
I'm trying. Sorry, I sound so horrible. I feel
No.
better than I sound, I promise.
No, you don't sound that bad. Okay, so public comment on any item of interest within the jurisdiction of the committee, but not on the agenda today. Future agenda items can also be suggested at this time. So does anybody have any public comment on items not on the agenda? Seeing none. Okay, moving on to the consent agenda. So we are going to be, we have something, for some reason I have 2 copies of this. Okay, so the minutes of the July 15th meeting, does anybody have any comments, questions, or corrections that they see need to be made in the minutes from last month's meeting? Eric? No. Okay, may I have a motion to accept the minutes as written? Okay. Okay.
Second.
Okay, so committee member Dudzik made the motion and committee member Webb seconded the motion. I mispronounced your name again, I'm sorry.
That's all right.
So I'll take the roll call. Mr. Dudzik,
Aye.
Mr. Webb,
Aye.
Mr. Seaver,
Aye.
Mr. Meeks.
Aye.
And Mr. Williams.
Aye.
Okay, minutes passed unanimously. Okay, the next agenda item is to receive a presentation from the San Luis Obispo County Air Pollution Control District regarding fast chargers and provide recommendations to the CCSD Board of Directors. And we have a gentleman here. Do you want to introduce him, Mr. Green or Mr. Tristan?
Yeah, absolutely, I can. I appreciate it. We have Tom, sorry, we're used to talking to Tom Hickey, but this is Tim Gillum.
Yes.
Transportation Planner for San Luis Obispo Council of Governments.
Great. Thanks, Jim. Tom was going to attend on behalf of the APCD, but has another meeting conflict. So I'll keep this brief. It's basically a verbal. I don't have a presentation to PowerPoint or anything. So the San Luis Obispo Council of Governments and our sister agencies in the 5-county region of what we call District 5, San Benito, Monterey, Santa Cruz, and Santa Barbara County, along with our other sister agency in Ventura, are drafting a grant application for what's called the Federal Charging and Fueling Infrastructure Grant, CFI, if you want to use an acronym. Our ask is going to be around $20 million to install DC fast chargers, direct current fast chargers among the 6-county region, what we call the Central Coast Mega Region. And we are looking at the site in Cambria at the Vets Hall building as one of the 3 sites that we're looking at in San Luis Obispo County. The other 2 being the Oceano Community Service District office, as well as a train depot directly across Highway 1 from the Oceano Community Service District office. The third being the San Paso truck stop off the 101, where Wellsona and 101 intersect. The thing about the federal CFI grant application, they have to be within 5 miles of a federally designated alternative fuel corridor, and both the 1 and the 101 meet that requirement for San Luis Obispo County. So there will be no match requirement for slow APC or the APCD, our agency, or the county of San Luis Obispo. Say the grant were to be awarded, we obviously would have to go out with an RFP. You're fully aware of request for proposals. I heard that earlier. And then we would move forward with design work and environmental, if any, obviously any permitting as well. But if all goes as planned, this will be cycle 2. We applied in cycle 1. We did fairly well. There were almost, I think, 800 applications submitted across the US and Puerto Rico, and I believe only 40 were awarded funds. But this being our second bite at the apple, as the Central Coast Mega Region, we feel we have a good shot. So we're really just looking for support of the site at Cambria Vets Hall. There's a lot of information I can provide if you have any questions. So
Okay.
have at it.
Mr. McElhaney, can you put the page 9 of the agenda packet up on the screen so that members of the public can see where we're talking about in the parking lot?
I don't have the agenda packet folder, but what I can do is I will pull up Google Earth.
I believe Tom met with someone from the Cambria OCD. Was that you, Jim?
It was not
It was,
me on site that day. It was program manager and general manager.
Okay. And it sounds like this site has been looked at previously. Is that correct?
We have district installed a single charger there that
Okay.
we received funding from several years ago that we finally executed and put it in the correct location here about earlier this year. Tim, maybe if you can touch on some timeline for our community who's listening in.
Right. It would probably be looking at it'd be most likely a 2-year process to get. So if we're looking at 8 charging ports, that would be 4 electric charger with 2 ports per charger. So it takes up, I shouldn't say a large footprint, but obviously it has to be ADA accessible. That's a given. But we're looking, it really depends on the power output that currently resides there. That would be another thing that would happen in the short term. We are looking at ChargePoint, who is a company that installs a lot of EV chargers across the US, and we've been in communication with them as the Central Coast Mega Region. and they are willing to go out and do site assessments. And so they know the power output that currently exists and what it would take to get 4 chargers with 2 ports per charger installed at each site. So this location looks, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead, sorry.
Oh, this site would be ideal based on its location to the one and the fact that there are amenities in the adjacent area. So
And how many charging stations?
it would be 4 stations with 2 charging port heads per station.
Can I make a comment too, since I
Yeah.
was at that interview last time?
Mr. Jujic, go ahead.
Yes, I'm gonna step over and, Matthew, could you highlight these here? This is where they talked about putting them, these. It would occupy.
It's gonna be this.
The first row. The first row.
Excuse me.
Yeah.
Yeah, first row, right, I'm sorry, first
Right,
row where
yeah.
the handicap is now. And 2 of them, I understand, would be handicap accessible, and the other 6 would not be. So it would be, yeah, this area here. Right here, you can't see it on the screen if you want to scroll over, is where the high voltage line comes in. Yeah, the tower is right over here somewhere. It comes right down the street and we dropped it. Oh, here's the shadow right there. So, you know, that's a high voltage line, so it makes it real easy to get to, relatively speaking. So it is
I have a question. Will there be a need for night lighting in that area?
That would be ideal, and that could be part of the project as well. So yes, obviously the safety amenities, I wasn't aware there were no lights in that parking lot. So yeah, that would definitely be something that we would consider as part of the larger grant application.
So this would take up 8 of the parking spaces in that first row, and 2 of them would be ADA compliant.
It is my understanding that for 6 chargers, you need 1 ADA space, but obviously if you have 2 ADA spaces there currently, we wouldn't want to take one of those out. So.
Is there 2 out there? The 3.
Yeah.
We're all looking out the window here.
Could we request that the lighting that becomes night lighting there be sort of a downcast type light, maybe like a canopy light on the charging units themselves? So we're not casting light all over the place. We have a dark skies initiative we like.
Okay.
Mr. Meek, so anytime we do a project that has outdoor lighting, being that we are a dark skies community, those regulatory lights or that compliance measure, it exists for all outdoor projects. So this would be a downcast light. It'd be similar to like the outdoor like casting or shadowing that we'd have that we have installed at the Fiscalini Ranch.
Yeah, I just didn't want to like just be blasting that whole
Great question.
area with a bunch of lumens we don't need.
Okay, so you said this operates with ChargePoint. General Manager McElhaney, is that what we use in the front now?
It is.
But the front now is not a fast charger.
Correct.
Okay, so these are the fastest of the ones that are available, but they're not Tesla chargers, right?
That is correct. Currently on the market, so ChargePoint wouldn't necessarily get the contract per se. We would have to go out with an RFP process, and if they were if they scored the highest, be it, you know, through the RFP process, and they would be awarded the contract. So those are things that, I mean, I know the County of San Luis Obispo, I don't believe that they have a preferred EV charger vendor. I know the city of San Luis Obispo, I believe, uses ChargePoint. I think the bulk of municipalities across the state probably go with ChargePoint. Again, that would all come out during the RFP process.
And any charge point or otherwise that was installed there, it'd be agnostic to what vehicle. It would be any EV could plug in there and charge, not just Tesla or
Absolutely.
exclusively Tesla or not unexclusively Tesla in the same manner.
Right, and Tesla has now become universal. You can charge any vehicle, EV vehicle at a Tesla charger.
Oh, I didn't know that. I knew that Teslas could charge at a non-Tesla charger with an adapter, but I didn't know anyone can charge at a Tesla charger now.
Yes.
That it's news to me.
I think it's
Now legal, you can charge any EV at a Tesla charger, so don't let them run you off.
That's right.
Yeah, I don't have an EV vehicle yet, so. Okay, any other questions from the committee members?
You know what, Tim, I have one more question about for
Sure.
a project like this size of scope. Let's say we're at installation phase. About what's the duration of installation? Is this a week, a month?
Ooh, that's a good question, Jim. I think it really depends on the power source.
Yeah.
It sounds like you guys have a pretty large power source nearby. So I
Mhm.
don't think this would take more than, I can't see it taking more than a month. I've heard of Tesla chargers being brought in on a flatbed and be installed within a week,
Mhm.
if not days. So I don't see why other EV charging vendors, contractors couldn't do the same or
Is there gonna be,
somewhat close.
excuse me, is there gonna be any battery backup storage necessary?
That was a question that has come up in our group. I think there was one site. So each county of the 6 counties, we're looking at 3 sites per county. And battery backup storage has been raised in those meetings. I think there was one site that was chosen. I think it really came down to available space and whether or not there was space available to do battery backup. So these
I
are all
think Daryl,
these are all things that can be looked at during a site assessment by ChargePoint. And so yeah, I will definitely note that down in my notes here. Look at battery backup potential.
okay, I think Mr. Williams has a question.
Quick
Yes.
question. Yeah, thank you. Is there a requirement in the grant about um full-time access? What I'm asking is this parking area often has events that go on in it, and I don't know if we would be required to cut out a section of any of these events to allow access to these full-time chargers during the events, or is there a requirement in the grant that says, it has these chargers have to be available 24 hours a day, every day, something along those lines?
That is correct, Derek. They are the requirement is they be available 24/7. And I was under the impression that I believe you guys have a farmer's market or something that's
Mhm.
held at this site.
Yeah.
I Tom from this APCD told me that it was in another area of the lot that this spot wouldn't conflict, but I could be totally wrong.
That's the corner of the lot that's probably the least used by the farmer's market, but I would defer to others who know the layout much better as to whether that.
Yeah, more than likely, we'll have to have a conversation with farmers, the farmers market, in order to make this work. Typically, that area is open during the farmers market. You'll see vehicles parked there.
Yeah.
But we'll have to have a conversation with them. But I think the direction we're heading as a community and these opportunities to have a grant-funded charging station, there's gonna have to be a little give and take even with the farmers market, so.
Okay.
And it might become a draw
Mhm.
for the farmer's market.
For sure.
Mhm.
Yeah, we're
No
looking
one
at-
usually sets up right there. It's just all parking
Right.
right there.
Yeah, so we'll have to put signs up, EV charging only. There'll have to be some enforcement mechanism with that.
You do them out the schoolhouse.
What's that?
You do them out in the schoolhouse area. Farmers market.
Anybody else? Okay, so what we're being asked here is, let me make sure nobody in the public has any questions. Does anybody on Zoom have any questions regarding this topic? I'm not seeing any hands up. Okay, so we are being asked to forward a recommendation to the CCSD Board of Directors to consider this. So does everybody okay with this? And does somebody want to make a motion to forward a recommendation to, how do we word this? To consider this grant opportunity, does that work? Okay.
Mm.
Does anybody want to make the motion?
Make the motion.
Okay, second?
I'll second it.
Okay, we have a motion made by Mark Meeks and seconded by Jim Webb. Derek's taking minutes here. He probably can't see your hands.
Can't.
Okay, so we have a motion from Mark Meeks and a second by Jim Webb. I'm going to take a roll call. Mr. Meeks. Mr. Webb.
Aye.
Mr. Seaver.
Aye.
Mr. Dujic.
Aye.
Okay. And Mr. Williams.
Aye, thank you.
Okay, so
Great.
it's unanimous.
Thanks all.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Tim.
This is exciting. It's bringing us into the future here. Yeah. Okay, so next topic is Mr. Williams' report on using geophysical mapping to identify potential well sites.
Thank you.
You want to go ahead, Mr. Williams?
Yes, and there is a copy of my report in your packet there. I met with staff from the district to identify potential sites that we might want to look at using geophysical mapping. Again, remember what the geophysical mapping does is it looks beneath the ground and gives you an idea of whether there are extensive sand layers, how thick they are, things like that. But it does require certain equipment be taken onto the site there, particularly equipment that is usually towed behind some sort of all-terrain vehicle and dragged across the ground. So the staff from the district provided me a couple sites that they were interested in that might be useful for potential future wells. And I went out and visited the sites, and there's discussion of that in your packet there. Went out and took photos of it, got some information about the size of the site, the slope of the site, what the vegetation looked like, things like that. Put my thoughts together and contacted one of the geophysical companies that does this, a company out of, I believe they're in Livermore. It's in your packet. I forget where exactly. They're up in the Bay Area somewhere. They looked at the sites also through sort of online information about the what the sites look like, the slope, the woodedness, and they came back and said it probably was not worth the cost of doing the geophysical work for the amount of information that might be gotten. The one site at the south end of town, just off Green Street, is relatively steep. And it is partially wooded, so we wouldn't be able to move the equipment across that site very well, and so it would be a difficult site to access. The other site, which is near Trenton, I believe, a half-acre site, and they could access that and get some information, but their feeling was because of the size of the site, we could probably get similar information less expensively using some sort of geoprobe and what are called cone penetrometer data. And so we could probably get equivalent data less expensively and probably was not worth our time to do that. So that was the suggestion from them. I took that suggestion and I believe it's probably accurate. And so you have the report, and I'm suggesting that probably we don't proceed with the geophysical investigation of those sites unless we come up with a much, much larger site that needs to be investigated.
Do you want us to share these photos so that everyone can see the areas you're talking about?
Sure, if you'd like to, be happy to. Yeah.
Is that something you're able to do?
What?
The chair.
I was not.
So page starting.
That's
with
all right.
page
If you can't, I'm not sure.
pages 12, 13, and 14 of the agenda packets. Is that possible?
You got it stored on your computer?
No, we got it. Slide down. To the 12.
Page 12, yeah. Okay, so this is the site at the end of Green Street, right?
Yeah, it's actually off Gleason Street. Green Street is off to the right. But yeah, this is the site at the very south end of town there. It's about an acre. the cross-hatched area is roughly an acre.
And
It is-
does the CCSD own that site?
Ask Mr. Green, is that right? Do they
It-
own
it's
the
not a
site or?
district owned site.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
Am I muted?
Nope,
No,
we
you
hear
weren't, you
Okay,
were
I'm
just
sorry,
quiet.
no, I'm sorry, it's not a district owned site.
Okay. So that's an issue too then for access on it.
Yeah, it's private.
I'm assuming that belongs to the rancher that has the cattle in that area.
Hmm.
Okay. Okay, so the next picture is a closer picture of the vegetation, right?
Yeah, the next few pictures, these are the pictures, and so you can see on this one, the site actually goes up to the trees. I believe it actually includes the trees that are at the far end of this picture here, because the site actually goes to the grazing land. So all of the trees that you see here are on the site. Part of it's been cleared. The brush near near where I'm standing has been cleared, and you could get a ATV around there, but much of this site still has trees on it there, and that was causing a problem.
Okay.
And
And
you got
then,
another? Yeah. I think I took this one to give a feeling for the slope of the site also. Again, Gleason Street is down and to the left, and the grazing land is up and to the right, and this was to get an idea of the slope of the site. It could be accessed probably by an ATV, but it would be difficult to get around all the vegetation.
okay, and then pages 16 and 17 and 18 show the one he's talking about all different.
Right.
Okay, you want to tell us about this one?
This is an L-shaped section between Kenneth and Trenton. It goes around a lot there. There is that lot, the house that's sort of in the middle of this L shape has a fence around it there. So this site actually goes two sides of that lot there. It's about a half acre. And Jim, I believe we have access to that. Is that right? We don't own it, but we have access to it right away.
Yeah, we've been given permission to.
Okay.
Thank you.
So
Okay.
it's much flatter. If we could look at the next series of photos there. This is the photo from Kenneth Drive. And as you can see, it's much flatter and has fewer trees on it, fewer bushes. Probably would have to clear out some of that. There are some things like a wood pile. If you look sort of about 1/3 of the way from the left-hand side of the picture, halfway back, that's a wood pile back there. There are some things that would have to be cleared out, but it is a much more accessible site. This is from Kenneth Drive there, looking, that would be south.
But we don't
And,
own this either, right?
and this is a somewhat low and wet area, actually.
Can you,
Yeah.
Can you turn up your volume a little bit? Are you able to do that?
Me?
Yeah, you.
Let me see. I'm sure I can. I will certainly try.
That's better.
That's
Is this better? Okay. I will speak
yeah.
more loudly. My throat hurts a little, but I will speak more loudly. Here we go.
Yeah, I kind of had a feeling with your sore throat.
Yeah. Next photo, please. On the next page is another photo. And this is looking from Trenton. And again, this is as steep as it gets. It's not terribly steep. It is an easily accessible site. On the right, you see the fence that I was talking about that goes around the person's property. So this is more accessible. It does have a few trees that we could work around, but the issue was probably just for the half acre, it's probably not worth the cost of mobilizing. The mobilization is the big cost. It would take half a day, if that, to actually do the work and the analysis, but the mobilization is what is the big cost.
Okay. Anybody have any questions?
I just wondered, what was the criteria for selecting these two lots? I don't understand. I mean, I think supposedly you're looking for hydraulic signatures that would indicate that a well might be productive there. But, those two lots, and I'm a little bit familiar with them, just from having been here for a long time, but, I was just wondering what was it that staff saw in those two lots of all the lots that we have here in town that are undeveloped that made them think it might be a potential hydraulic source?
Yeah, I can speak to that. So the Green Street was something that studies were prepared for. I'm not sure were ever executed, but there was some thought that there was some groundwater in that area. Also, the Trenton area, just from staff driving around post wet season, we see a lot of runoff there that continues. It's probably our #1 area that we get calls post May saying there's a leak over here. And it's just that underflow that we see daylighting there. So that was internally something that we thought as well. There was also another location in Marine Terrace. I know that we see underflow daylight at. Our concern there was being that close to that saltwater wedge that we'd have kind of brackish water and not good groundwater to draw from.
Good question. I was gonna ask the same thing.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting because there was a proposal looked at many years ago when they put in the sewer line across Fiscalini Ranch. Several people noted that there's many places where there's seepage of water going out through the cliff face into the ocean, and wondered if there was some way to intersect that water before it was lost to the ocean, and it didn't appear to be doing any beneficial, anything beneficial for steelhead or local, what would they call it? The protected area habitat or something. I mean, it's not Eshet, pardon me. That section going where they put the sewer line there. So I just thought I'd mention that that's also a potential way of gathering, what in effect you're looking for groundwater that is soaked in.
Anybody else?
So my next question is, what are assuming these conclusions are valid, which they look good, I mean, they look like they make sense. What are the next steps for for developing supplemental supplies in those particular areas, for example?
Well, it sounds to me from this discussion that the area on Gleason is probably not accessible. But you mentioned another method besides the tow behind trailer for the one off Trenton. What was that?
Pardon me. The other methods we would look at are methods of either drilling test pilot holes or what is called cone penetrometers. Those are used for I lost my, all right. Cone penetrometers, which are a technique where you just drive a probe into the ground against the weight of the truck. The truck just pushes something into the ground, and the tip of these probes are able to tell if you're going through sand or clay just by the friction. And so what we would get is, as deep as those could go, we would get an idea if we were hitting a lot of sand as they push these probes into the ground. Takes just half a day to do it. And that would give us some idea then of how deep they could get, how deep the sands are, and would it be worth putting a well in there. It would be a rough estimate, but that's probably the next thing we would do.
Okay, and how expensive is it to do that?
I'm
you have
not
any idea?
sure. I could look into it. I think I had an estimate earlier, but I could pull that up again. Yeah.
And can I ask staff about this area that Mr. Webb was talking about? Is there anything over in that area that's not ESHA that's worth looking at?
I mean, we could always take a second look at it. In fact,
It's just the service road running out Fiscalini Ranch. They encountered a lot of water when they put in that pipe and stuff, and I was thinking that potentially this was a place you could collect some water, but
Okay, so do we want to bring this back with a little bit more information about this drilling of the pilot holes or doing the probes down there? Would that be, would staff agree that that would be a good approach?
I think so. I think we should definitely, seek some proposals or bids to perform those. And we can also take a look at some alternate locations.
Okay. Okay, and so Mr. Williams, you and staff can work together on that a little bit?
Can
And
do
then
it, yes.
when you're ready, we'll put it back on the agenda
Sounds
for further
good.
discussion.
Yeah.
Mr. Dujic?
I'd like to add, maybe suggest adding a little bit more to that. If you could also come back with a kind of philosophical schedule, or first cut schedule as to the steps that would be required after that, assuming it was successful.
Okay,
What would it take to develop it to a actual flowing well that was connected to the system?
Okay, did you get that?
Yes, I did. Yeah.
Okay. Have you considered, this is gonna sound funny, but this is how we found water on our last property, is we hired a well witch.
So some of my favorite people, yeah, are not well witches. Yes.
We did it too. I've done it too.
Well, they found us a good well. She was also a school bus driver, and she brought her husband with her, who sat down with an ice chest full of beer and watched her. And told us how successful she always was, and she found a good well. Anyway.
Sounds
but
right. Yep.
It served our 5 acres, not the whole community though. And we're looking for water for the community. Okay, good. Well, I appreciate the presentation. I don't see any hands up from the public. Actually, we only have one member of public left online and one member sitting here. So, okay, so let's go ahead and have you look into this a little bit more.
Mhm.
And let's bring this back, if that's okay.
That'll be fine. Yeah.
Okay, see, we're supposed to be receiving an update from staff now on the San Simeon stream gauge relocation.
Great, yeah.
So
Thank you.
who's,
Per the October 1st, 1987 agreement with San Luis Obispo County Flood Control District, they own and operate the stream gauge located on our property there. They'd like to relocate that stream gauge a little higher up on our property there and install a new unit, a more accurate unit, which transmits with more often of a frequency. So the project is being sought for funding through the flood control district. So this is all a year out from moving and so forward. But this is just kind of an update that we want to move that so that's accurate. We derive a lot of data off of that. It's a USGS staff gauge stream gauge. So that gets reported, federally. The information that's derived from this is updated almost live every 15 minutes on the county's website, which is rainfall data. Under there, you'll see flood control district, and they'll have their stream gauges there. So that updates in fairly real time for the community members, but then we use that data as well for planning into dry season, how to control our diversion from different places and stuff. And that's really an integral piece for us. So we've been partners with the county, the flood control district with this since '87. We want to maintain our relationship, obviously, with the county. And it's really no skin off our back with this. We've kind of agreed to helping them weed whack from time to time, which we do anyways, because there's a trail that follows our reinjection line right at that location. But I'd advocate to continue our collaboration with this, because that information, that data that we derive from there is very important. And again, this funding and everything for this replacement and this installation is about a year out from when they are awarded funds. But so this is just something to kind of talk about and bring you up to date on kind of the collaboration that's going on with the county and us.
so whereabouts on our San Simeon property would this be relocated to?
So right where basically the fence ends on San Simeon Creek Road, right across or catty corner from the PG&E substation. There's a little trail that's been beat down and you'll find our re-injection line. And if you continue to follow that trail down to the creek, you'll see that staff gauge there, or that stream gauge rather. So we're looking at putting in an updated, much cleaner version of that and a little higher out of Vandals Way, although they've never had any problems with vandalism on their current installation, on their current device. But it's just something that we thought as you bring that higher up out of stream and weather events harm's way, that you're not putting it in a more vulnerable situation where, you know, vandals can deface it or break into it or, you know, destroy it.
Anybody
We're
have
not
any
planning on
questions?
moving it, we're not planning on moving it up or downstream very far then?
It's going to be in the same place, just 30 feet higher. So we're just
30
going
feet
to run,
higher. Got it.
we're just going to need to run 30-foot longer bubbler tube.
Got it. Okay, thanks.
Mhm.
Anybody else? No? Okay, so you're not requesting any action from us on this, you're just giving us an update, correct?
We'll be requesting action. There'll be a new agreement that we sign. Obviously, we need to update some documentation from 87. So when the funding and all this gets put into place, we'll bring that forward for, you know, a resolution as far as signing a new agreement.
Right, so this isn't something we need to vote on anything for.
Not right now. I'm just
Okay.
kind of giving you a heads up for the future in case some of this funding and this. Ideally, they'd like this to fund pre-wet season this year. They thought that was a little bit too ambitious, but should they receive that funding early or prematurely, we'll already have this conversation out there, and then we can take a deeper dive and look into the review of the agreement.
Okay. Okay, thank you. So future agenda items, I'm assuming that we will be ready to bring the zero liquid discharge back for our September 9th meeting.
Absolutely.
And then we'll have the information about the permits, the plot plan, and the contract at that time. Is that correct? Okay. And then Tristan's getting RFPs for the free backup generator for the rodeo grounds.
Right.
Will this backup generator be put in the exact same location it is now?
It will be. So that was kind of the complication with the RFP. We've had it written out and everything prepared for, you know, to fly this. Recent inquiry, I looked in this one, we don't have a pin and sleeve there, which is a way to hook up a remote or a towable generator for this. So I'm having to expand the scope here when we replace this because we can't be without power at that site for more than 8 hours at the most. We've done it with 8 hours when we replaced the pedestrian bridge transmission line. But obviously it puts us in kind of a vulnerable position when we have to do this. So we're changing a little bit of the scope as far as installation to make sure that we do not have interrupted power service at our main booster station for the community.
Okay. Any of the other committee members have anything they want to see come back on the agenda for September?
The previous one on the wells, is that gonna come back to?
I'm not quite sure. I don't know. if
Probably
we
won't
did
come
anything.
back in September. Probably won't come back till October at that point.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then, Mark,
Yes.
you want to just let us know if you were able to get a hold of anybody by,
You want me to, I'll still pursue it, yeah.
okay,
I think they're still out there. I don't know why I'm not getting calls, but
okay.
We got some future topics, not for decision or, you know, for resolution, more for discussion and information, will be our in-stream flow study that we'll be bringing to you in its completion. We've been awaiting a document and that's been completed. We'll bring up adaptive management program as well. And that'll be coming up. That'll be a talking point. Tristan, can you think of anything else, Mr. Reaper?
Nope.
I have a question, Jim.
Yeah.
If I may, what happened to the group you were gonna form with the other communities for the Whale Rock Reservoir watershed? Did anything ever come to that? Has that gone anywhere?
We've been in some discussions with the county as well, and we're just at discussion stage. So we don't really have anything really huge to bring forward. We're just in discussions talking about things right now. So if we have anything, you know, permanent or in concrete, that's pertinent to this, then we'll definitely bring that forward. But right now,
That's a long time, but,
Okay.
but those allocations are still available, huh?
they are not available right now. We
They're
have,
not.
no, they are going to reallocate the fourth quarter this year. I think that's now been pushed into second quarter of 2025.
I see.
Before they reallocate or reevaluate the allocations of Whale Rock. So as of right now, there's none available.
Okay, the in-stream flow study and the AMP, are you thinking September?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, there's one other item that we're going to need to address at our next meeting. And that is the board has had a discussion about changing our board meetings to 1 day a month rather than 2. So it'd start in the morning, have a lunch break, and continue on until all the business was taken care of in the afternoon. Along with that, they would like to combine some of the standing committee meetings so that there's 2 on a Monday and 2 on a Thursday, 1 in the morning, 1 in the afternoon. So what they are looking at is a Monday morning, Monday afternoon meeting, a Thursday morning, Thursday afternoon meeting. So I have been asked to check with you, to have you check your calendars to see what your availability is. I'm assuming you'd like to stay in the afternoon. To check your availabilities for Mondays and Thursdays, the week following the first board meeting of the month. It's hard to give you a date. Okay, so we'll come back with dates, but the first board meeting of the month is the second Thursday of the month. So it would be the following Monday or the third Thursday of the month. So the Monday in between those two. So if you can look at your calendars and we'll come back with some dates for you at the next meeting. And you can let us know your preference and your availability. Does that sound right?
Monday and Thursdays, those alternate Monday,
No,
Thursday?
not alternating. We have to pick, we have to decide which,
Which
you know,
is,
and there are 4 committees. So everyone is asking their committee members this same question.
okay,
The other 2 committees, I believe, have always done their meetings in the morning. We and pros have always done the meetings in the afternoon, or have been doing the meetings in the afternoon. So I'm assuming we'll stay in the afternoon. Okay, if that's your preference. But it's the Monday following the second Thursday of the month or the third Thursday of the month. I know that sounds complicated, but we will be discussing that at the next board meeting. So, because this is something they would like to start doing starting in 2025. So we're still good for the rest of this year.
Yeah.
Okay, so for 2025. Okay. So also in December, we're not doing it yet, but in December, we are going to be asking you all if you want to continue on R&I. And if you, and I hope you do. And if you want to continue on R&I, you will have to fill out an application to be considered with all the other applications that we hardly ever get. So, just be thinking about that as well as you're thinking of the dates. I think we have a good team here. We have a lot of people on the, well, everyone on this committee has a good background in something pertaining to infrastructure. So I appreciate that.
Yeah, if I could say, I appreciate working with everybody, and you guys have been a great influence and, you know, ear for me to chirp or bark to. So yeah, I'd hope everybody would continue on with our advisory committee here, guys.
So you've got our assigned staff members request.
I need a tour.
Oh, yes. Okay. So, I believe Mr. Meeks hasn't had a tour of WRF and what, have you been to the, okay.
I've been to the couple of meetings at the water reclamation plant, but I've never walked through it.
Okay. Does anybody else here? I know Jim is sick right now, so you're not going to get a tour right away.
No, I don't want a tour. What do you think?
You do, but you got to ride in the truck with me. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah, I'll ride in the back.
Does anyone else here?
I'm up for it.
Okay, so
Can I make a
we can
suggestion?
only do it 2 committee members at a time unless we have it as a meeting.
That's gotta be everything.
So,
Security
um,
thought to
so-
this as well, and I thought, while we're operating that ZLD pilot, that temporary run that we're doing there, I thought it'd be a great time for everyone to kind of come out and see and hear and smell and kick the tires there to see what it sounds like and what it feels like. And when that plant's absolutely running, you know, you can see how quiet
Sure.
and efficient it is. And I think that'd be a really good time. But in the meantime, I mean, I know that's a couple months out. Yeah, let's get a couple people at a time. And if you guys want to throw out some dates, we'll make ourselves available. The next couple of weeks are difficult for me.
Yeah.
Yeah,
We realize you're busy. You got a few little things going on. So whenever it's good for you, you know,
well, he needs to get well first.
absolutely, yeah, of course.
Okay, so,
Here, Dean, I have another agenda item coming up. That'll
go
be
ahead.
our raw source sanitary survey. So this will basically be my review of that document that Confluence engineers are putting together for us, and then we can talk about our vulnerabilities in both of our basins and what's changed, what hasn't changed over our last 2 or 5 sanitary surveys. And the sanitary survey, they don't look at just the raw source. They look at the distribution system, if any we've had no notice of violations that have occurred, what changes we've done to kind of implement that. I know when we look back in 2007 and 2013, I think we had some lead or some corrosive hits in our distribution system. I know since then we made some changes. We have cathodic protection at our domestic storage tanks. And there's been a great deal of steel lines replaced in the interim, permanently replaced. So maybe we can go over some of the decisions from, or the topics from that document, and let me go over that with you.
okay, so is that September too?
Yeah, one of these is going to be a real big month, and it's looking
Yeah,
like.
Yeah.
sounding like a long meeting,
It's like a
but it's all
snowball.
really important stuff.
It's like a snowball.
Yeah,
All these documents are kind of all coming together at once. Some are a little late, some are a little early, so.
it's okay. Could get a lot done at that meeting. Okay, and so whenever we do the zero liquid discharge program, that will be a time we'll have an R&I meeting out there that the public is allowed to attend. Is that what you're thinking?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, that sounds good. I know there's a lot of curiosity about what's going on with that. Okay, is there anything else? And I don't see any members of the public online with a hand raised.
Do we have any more future agenda requests?
I think we pretty much ran the gamut for September.
Yeah. I was thinking for 2025, but.
We all okay with that? Okay, good. Then, if no one else has anything else they want to put on the agenda, and if no one has any objections, it is 3:13 p.m. and I will go ahead and adjourn the meeting. Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you very much.
Feel better, Derek.
Thanks.
Hope you feel. You and Derek?
Yeah, well.
Yeah, get well.